Now, one of the things that really stuck with me during the funeral, when Barry Gordy said Michael Jackson, they called him the king of pop, but really his title is the greatest entertainer that ever lived. And then the crowd just exploded at that point. At what point did you know that your little brother, your little kid brother, was going to be the greatest entertainer that ever lived?
I knew that before Motown because what he represented in front of me was just phenomenal. I've never seen anything like it. It was like the way he sung and danced and moved. It wasn't just Michael, but Marlon was a great dancer, and so was the other brothers. But Michael had that special talent of it all. He can sing, he can dance, he knew melody. He can take a song that you write and then sing it and just knock it out the park. Add elements to it that you never thought of it or never would imagine. What we used to say, he knew how to bring a song home. He really knew how to bring a song home.
What was it like going from a poor black kid in Indiana? And the reason why I mentioned the race is because during that time there was a lot of racism, especially in that area, to suddenly getting a record deal with Motown and having 4 charting singles, one after the other, like the transition from this poor life, crammed into, I think, a three-room house, into suddenly being superstars like this.
Well, I tell you, in Indiana, we dreamed a lot. We wanted to be stars. I remember we used to look at the cloud formation out of our back bedroom window and imagine that those were mountains and we're in California and things like that. And so when we moved from Indiana to California, we were so fascinated, and we were young. I think I was something like 13, 14 years old, and Michael must have been around 8 or 9 years old. And we were so fascinated with palm trees and mountains that, we didn't think about whatever. You're a child. You don't measure money or things of that nature. You just, as long as you can buy your little candy or your popsicles and run around the city and have fun. And that's what we did. We used to go by different celebrities' houses and knock on their door and visit them, introduce ourselves. And, we're from Indiana, So it was exciting, man. Moving to California was a dream come true, exciting, a whole new life, a whole new pickup. Motown had rented this house for us and had a swimming pool. We've never really seen a swimming pool in Indiana, so it was great.
What was it like, though, being on stage and having the music that you guys were creating have the type of impact, from going from your bedroom and little talent shows to suddenly having all these little girls screaming your name and being on the charts?
It was very exciting. It was scary as well. I remember that we used to go on to shows and we'll barely get through the first number, and we couldn't finish the show because of the girls and the excitement. We would pile into a Volkswagen Bug and basically do our escape from there. And we didn't really realize how much of an impact we had made on the music scene until we were older and was able to measure and read and really understand that. But when we were children, we were just doing what we had to do, making music, doing what we loved, and traveling and seeing the world was very exciting. Things that you read about in textbooks in school, you actually got to go there to these wonders of the world and go to Asia or China or wherever in the world, Europe, and we come home and share our events with the classroom and that whole thing, and it was just great.
How much racism did you really experience during that time?
There was racism around. It was very, I don't want to say very subtle, but it was subtle. Like we realized that when we went to certain cities, the rooms that they gave us were usually near the dumpsters or the worst rooms in the hotel and things like that, or we don't have reservations for you, or all that. I remember one time we went into an antique store and my brother was chased out, you know. He would take something and just look at it. The man say, "Put it down, don't touch nothing." Da da. I mean, so it was bad, you know, at times, but overall it was great. Everyone isn't like that, you know. You have your one or two people out of hundreds, you know, and they just haven't learned yet.
When Michael announced that he's gonna go solo, like what did you personally feel? Like how did you personally get affected by such, you know, huge news like that?
Well, that going solo thing is something that started back in the Motown days, because Michael's first solo record, which was "Got to Be There," was a Jackson 5 original record that wasn't presented on the album. So I guess Motown decided to do a solo release with that one. Then after that album, Jermaine did a solo album, and then Jackie did a solo album. I was doing the solo album, like I told you earlier in the interview, and I was cast away, but because of the move from Motown to Epic. But it's something that we grew up with. We always looked at our career as a group and as well as a solo. Even right before Michael passed away, he would have had told you that he's still a Jackson. He's still in the Jackson 5 or the Jacksons. He's just doing his solo music right now, which Jermaine does. Jackie's had a solo, my sisters. Every brother and sister has had a solo record. So I'm the only one that's never done that. It's Tito time. And one of the reasons that I decided to do it, I started not to do it because, you know, the Jackson 5 has done a lot of work, and I've done a lot of things that's good. So, but then there's certain people, there was a survey in the internet, will Tito ever do a solo record? And it was sort of going even. And then there was sort of jokes being made, and how come Tito doesn't do this, or he's the one that's standing in the corner and don't say much and just play his guitar or whatever. And there was a comment by Mr. Charles Barkley that really pushed my button, and I say, you know what, I have this music over here that I'm just holding. I should just go on and finish this thing and put it out and see what it does. So I decided to do that, and maybe I won't be so much of a joke anymore, I hope.
Well, what was your reaction when, and I'm sure you've seen this, when you saw Rush Hour and it was Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan and he said, "I'm Michael, you're Tito." Remember that?
Yeah, that came from an Eddie Murphy joke, I believe. And
okay.
Tito, give me the tissue in his stand-up. And but you know, I think people use my name a lot because it's different. First of all, you know, it's a different name, and my personality in the group was more settled. I didn't say too much. People feel sometimes that I'm hard, but I'm not hard. I'm probably a cream puff compared to some of the other brothers in my family. So I look at myself as whatever you guys want to do, count me in. I'm on a team. So whatever, wherever, whenever, I'm ready.
Yep. You know, one of the big debates that we have on VladTV with a bunch of the guests is Michael Jackson's greatest album, Off the Wall or Thriller. I've said Thriller, other guests have said Off the Wall. If you were to say Michael Jackson's greatest album, what would it be?
Thriller. Thriller. Thriller was his greatest album.
I totally agree. But I guess Quincy Jones actually said Off the Wall.
I don't know why. My vote goes to Thriller.
Well, why would you say Thriller over Off the Wall?
Well, I just like the whole production of the album. I like the video content and just the way it was presented. And it was just and it was a bigger sell. So that says it right there.
I remember there was an interview with Michael a while ago, and they asked him if he thought that Thriller was going to be as big as it got, and he said, honestly, yes, he did, because just sonically what it was. When you first heard Thriller, did you think it was going to be as big as it got?
Well, you know, no one ever heard of records selling those numbers that he sold. You know, if you sold 5, and most I think was around 10 or whatever, you were like goddess, you know. And for him to pop up with 40 to 50 million sales, it's like, wow, what's going on? This is popcorn going, you know, sales. Is crazy, meaning a lot of sales. It's just tremendous, man. You know, every artist would love to do that. You know, that's a dream, and that's the record, that every artist's goal is to try to reach. You know, I don't know if it can be done in our lifetime, but it's there to be beat, and it can be done.
Yeah, no, Thriller was, I would say, one of the only perfect albums ever created. Just perfect from beginning to end.
Well, it's very exciting. It's the storylines are great. It's visual. You know, the music is just fabulous, and he performed it well as well.
Right. You were there when he did that famous Moonwalk. That was the Motown anniversary.
Yes.
What went through your mind when you saw that?
We were very excited because we had all the brothers on stage at one time, and that was very exciting for us to be back on stage as a group. And we knew Michael was going to sing these songs from his solo release, and he had a special performance with it. So we all backstage in the green room watching the monitors, and along with other entertainers, of course. And when he did it, it's just, the room just went crazy. I mean, that was their first time seeing it. We have seen the Moonwalk ever since we were little, you know, and that was their first time seeing it. And they just gravitated toward it and loved it. It was like one of the greatest performances. So it was good. It was good.
Wait, so Michael had been doing the Moonwalk at home already?
Yeah, he had been doing the Moonwalk for a little while as a little boy. It was something that we used to do. Marlon used to do it as well. And it was just a funny thing that we used to do. We never thought about putting it in the show or using it the way he used it. You know, so Michael was that type of person. He could take an idea and make it his own, you know, make it, present it in a fashion that you could never imagine. And that's what made him a little different, I think.